Hello, hi, and welcome to my little fashion corner, still completely unfashionable. Today is a fabulously grey, rainy day, and I thought what else I have to do rather than sit in a poorly lit room and talk to a camera about something that I'm very passionate about. So here we are. Hi! Thanks for being here, and I do hope you're having a fantastic day as well. Apologies in advance if I'm looking that way. I've got my notes there and I would like to make at least some sort of sense, so if I'm looking in that direction, I'm not trying to be intentionally rude, I'm just trying to make sense. I would like to start this with saying I'm not here to fix capitalism. I'm just discussing my hobby I am passionate about, and I love to hear other people's opinions. And in my closest circle, there's not many people that I could talk to about this particular topic, and by this particular topic I mean fashion in general. So I do appreciate when you can hang out and we can chat about this. When it comes to budgeting for fashion, there's a myriad of videos on YouTube. I will include one of the fashion YouTubers that I follow so that you can listen to their side of story. How I budget for fashion, well, I set money aside, and when I have enough for the particular item that I want to purchase, I go ahead and do that. It's probably as deep as this is. However, on many occasions I was asked, and I still get that question even at ripe age of 32, why would I spend this amount of money on fashion? How can I justify this purchase? I'm ignoring those questions about who's paying for these, because you know what, I'm a single mom who's not receiving alimony or child support, is raising their child alone. I work in tech industry, which is dominated by men, and they're usually not big on fashion. So I sort of got used to those questions and those weird looks and being teased and sort of not interrogated, that's a very exaggerated word, but so, you know, teased is probably the best word about why would you do that, you know, this is just extraordinary amount of money and you could buy just literally anything else. So what I would do is I just put it in a box labeled rude, and I would not open that box. I would never get back to it again. It's just why bother, because I know I'm not going to change their opinion, and they're certainly not going to change mine. I sort of got a bit more educated on the topic, and I discussed at length and in depth with other people what frivolous spending is considered as, what is the situation with it, and it's sort of brought light to why does it bug me so much, and I would like to share this with you and then ideally hear your thoughts on this. My brief history on frivolous spending. This is largely observational, as there's not many social studies around this topic. When you travel back to 1950s-ish, to the era of housewives being responsible of taking care of the household budget, the family budget that has been set aside by the breadwinner, traditionally a man, who would get his wage, his monthly salary or whatever, and then would set aside a necessity budget to cover all the necessary bills, the day-to-day spendings, you know, food, whatever is needed for children, any animals of the household, and everything else. Whatever was left then from that necessity budget was left to the housewife to sort of spend on herself, you know, to treat herself, to get something nice, maybe get her hair done, her nails done, buy something fashion or decor for the home. All these items were then almost by nature self-care items. It was expected of the wife to look the best. Therefore, it was in wife's best interest to budget to the best of her abilities, like all the items of being a good housewife, and then she could possibly have a little bit extra set aside to get something nice, something for herself. And as those items would traditionally be something like fashion or piece of jewellery, decor again, that would have been classified as frivolous spending, because that budget was set to necessity, to day-to-day spending, to taking care of the household. If there was anything left, it wasn't looked at, oh, that housewife must have been resourceful. It was, you have too much money, or you are just frivolously spending money that you could have used on something that is much more substantial and much more important to your household. Men's part was justified by nature, right? Man was a sole breadwinner, therefore he put aside a chunk of money for the wife to take care of the household, and then whatever was left was for him to spend. That could have been anything from hobbies, cars, you know, drinking with his friends. Ultimately, he wouldn't have to justify that part because he works hard to provide for for his family. So men's part is justified, how the housewife budget was ultimately coming out of that necessity budget, and therefore society assumes it's coming either from an extremely large chunk of money, or it was just frivolous shopping. It was frivolous spending, and that money left could have been spent on house and or kids. By nature, something more important. So from that very brief history of frivolous shopping, we are encountering something that is female-coded hobbies or female-coded spending, and then male-coded hobbies or male-coded spending. That frivolous spending definition, unnecessary, reckless, almost silly expenditure, is usually classified as that female-coded. That could have been fashion, cosmetics, jewellery, stuff like that. With more masculine hobbies come male-coded spendings, hobbies like fishing, golfing, cars, gadgets and tools that could be very expensive. Rooted in that history, men buy nice suits or visit a barber. That usually gets praised as, oh, he's taking care of himself, he's trying to look professional. What is interesting is that people oftentimes subscribe to this idea, even if they're not financially literate, in the traditional sense. So this concept is so ingrained in the Western culture, often assume you to justify it somehow, resulting in judgments. Oh, you have more money than sense. How can you justify buying this? You could have spent that or invest that money elsewhere. And then when it comes to those male-coded hobbies or male-coded spending, that is just never questioned, and it just continues to perpetuate the stigma of women being very likely financially irresponsible, especially those that spend money on fashion and jewellery and other things. Again, this is largely observational. However, try and think about whether that is something that you've encountered. I'm not saying you yourself had to think it, but I have encountered this many times. I work with numbers for a living, with budgets, and I'm not an accountant or anything like that, but based on my career growth, I am very confident to say that I'm good at what I do. Sort of like a bad investment. Let me just elaborate on a couple of things. What would be a luxury male-coded hobby? The obvious example is luxury cars. There is a parallel between cars bringing similar standard as luxury fashion, so it's very easy to make that 1+1 addition. Cars have a sole purpose to bring you from point A to point B. When you buy a car, you depreciate its value significantly just by driving it from retailers to your home. Ultimately, you're obviously spending money on that luxury brand because every car is going to be serving the same purpose. Oftentimes overlooked is with luxury purchases, you then are increasing the costs of maintenance. You have higher priced parts, the maintenance service, tax, etc. I'm not saying it's a bad purchase, absolutely not. Even if you just simply want to have a car, or so you may decide, hey, I need a car to drive my family places, get groceries, drive me to and from work. You add all the costs attached to it, and it's still a better investment for you, and it still makes sense to you, and you want it. That's a good purchase. That is all it matters. Different example of a male-coded hobby, because again the lines are blurred, and I am going to use golfing as an example. And again, I know women play golf too, I'm well aware. Golfing, unfortunately, is as well predominantly masculine hobby, which has arguably some of the similar effects as luxury fashion could have, and it's oftentimes thrown in, for example, my face. Look at the costs, look at what it does to planet Earth, etc. Golf and fashion both have oftentimes high costs, very close society, often in cliques, labeled as a hobby for the rich, arguably can have negative impact on Earth, depending on circumstances. Would be a bit more of a better example rather than cars. Unfortunately, I know double digits of people that play golf, 100% are men, and I am yet to meet one. Had been just casually asked, and how do you fund this golfing hobby of yours? was interesting to see is the self-care effect that pandemic, I wanted to say recently past pandemic, but I suppose that is not entirely accurate. What the self-care effect that pandemic has had on society. We were encouraged to find a self-care routine, do things that bring us joy. Many things, online shopping included, improved and have been transformed in a way so that it's easier for society to subscribe to those activities, to partake in online shopping, for example. But it didn't have to be shopping only. It could have been small things like get a candle, get a mask, have a little skincare routine, get some home workout items, find something that brings you joy that you can also do from home. Luxury fashion isn't really recognized as an item of self-care, despite the effect that it could have on a person. It can be very validating. You can come from a very poor family and it gives you the sense of, look what I am able to provide for myself or for my family as well, my partner, my friends. Also, it's investing in themselves. People take more pride in themselves when they're well dressed. It's a little ego boost. They walk a little bit taller, including a few things that luxury fashion is doing for me. It's teaching me how to care for my possessions. Taking care of my shoes is a big thing for me. I love to learn about the history of fashion, and I love to be part of that whole movement of history of brands that I like to support. What I oftentimes hear is that, oh, this is such a bad investment. I'm not going to argue that fashion can or cannot be an investment, because the obvious and first argument that comes to table when you're talking to a fashion enthusiast is, look at Hermes, Birkins and Kellys or Chanel classic bags. You can turn a profit on those. I'm investing in fashion not to make money. I'm not really expecting for those items to be sold down the line and again turn profit for me. What I am investing in is higher quality piece that will last a little bit longer, that I will take good care of, and is ultimately a bit difficult to just toss it for me, because I do not have that kind of money that I would just toss new shirt or jacket or shoes or anything like that and say I'll just get new ones. It does teach me how to take care of it, how to repair things, and find a way how to prolong that longevity. When it comes to financial health and hobbies, I have mentioned this. I do use the term justifying buying this or that. And my approach is I'd like to look at it from the point of sustainability. If I invest in this, will I truly wear this? Do I have places to wear this? And my favorite example is I have a work bag, a gorgeous yellow one, and I saw that the fashion house have created a grey one. It was same shape, same sustainable material, same collection, just grey one, and I love grey. And I went on a bit of a walk with myself to discuss the pros and cons. I knew I'd use it because I use it for work, I use it for travels. It's a great bag, it's a fantastic bag. But did I really need to, just because I love grey? Now granted, if I'm in a different financial situation, do I have a similar thought process? Well, I can't really tell. I don't really know. In my position, I said to myself, you don't really need a second identical bag, just in a different color. Another thing that is often thrown back to me is I'd rather spend money on memories. And that's an absolutely valid argument, and no one should retort with, well, you can't take those to the grave, which is unfortunately something that I do get to hear. You don't get to take these items to the grave with you. So arguments like this then make you think about financial health. Recognizing people's financial independence and literacy comes hand in hand with your own financial priorities. You yourself have to recognize where do you place the value of things for you. I should say, what things have value to you, and where do you desire to place your money. Profiling a traditional adult, we all have some bills to pay. We pay rent or mortgage, utilities, general day-to-day bills that help us survive, and those items vary. Whether you have a family, you have a partner, children, animals to take care of. What is really interesting is that for some people, financial security, and by that I mean putting aside money just for the sake of having money, is just not their priority. It's for some people, this financial security is just not a consideration, and not necessarily because they can't afford to set money aside. I understand that's a situation that's completely valid. It's a different debate. People that don't consider financial security security is important, they simply choose not to. And as an adult, when you cover all those bills, all those general spendings, whatever is left goes towards your hobbies and or financial security, savings, investment, insurance. Why this is so important to me is if you choose to shop luxury fashion and you decide to spend all your money on it, that's fine. Those are items that you value and that bring you joy. Ultimately, people interact with fashion in some shape or form. We, humankind, we wear clothes. For some, luxury brands could be an easy way to portray what kind of person they are, what they like, how they like to be perceived, what brands they like to support, whom they trust. It can be a story being fascinated by the world, history, and wanting to be a part of that journey through years. I am passionate about fashion and I interact with it both in an active and passive manner. Moreover, I feel personally touched by this female-coded stigma, and I wanted to talk about it not just to normalize the values differentiation, but also contribute to the discussion. And even if it's just me sitting in front of camera and saying it out loud, hopefully it resonates and it is relevant. Female and male-coded hobbies, spending, and the concept of frivolous spending is something that should be on its way out yesterday. I don't really have any heartbreaking outro. As we continue to move to 2023, this will be even less significant in our daily lives and again on its way out. With that, have a fantastic rest of the day. Thanks for hanging out. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.